Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NCAAF matches that is happening on Sunday, September 3rd, 2023. We will be providing our team, total and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comments section below. Northwestern vs Rutgers. Take Rutgers to cover the 6.5 points. And here is why. Last season Northwestern was one of the worst teams in all of college football. They opened their season with a 31-28 win against Nebraska and Ireland and then didn't win another game the rest of the year, finishing the season with a 1-11 record. They went 1-8 in Big Ten conference play. The Wildcats were horrible on both ends of the field last year. They scored an average of only 13.8 points per game, ranking 128th in the nation. Their offense passed for an average of 210.3 yards per game and ran for an average of just 125.1 yards per game on the ground. Defensively, Northwestern was only marginally better, ranking 83rd in the country, allowing an average of 28.3 points per game. They allowed an average of 183.4 passing yards and 191.3 rushing yards per game. Rutgers, the birthplace of college football, started their season 3-0 last year, but finished the year 4-8, going 1-8 in the Big Ten play. They go into the season with head coach Greg Schiano likely on the hot seat, and the expectations this year are pretty low for the Scarlet Knights. Although this isn't the best matchup, I don't see a way that Northwestern, who would shock me if they get a win at all this season, can open the year with a win, especially after the off-season drama and without Pat Fitzgerald at the helm. It's going to be a long year in the Big Ten. Although both of these teams were horrible last year, Rutgers had 3 more wins and a better offense. I expect them to win by a touchdown to cover the 6.5 point spread at home. Take the under here. And here is why. I don't expect this to be an entertaining game by any means. Both Rutgers and Northwestern returned with 2 of the 7 worst offenses in the country last season. Last year Rutgers ranked 124th offensively in the nation, scoring an average of only 17.4 points per game, and Northwestern ranked 128, averaging only 13.8 points per game. If anything, I think both of these teams got worse than they were last year, especially the Wildcats. Even with the terrible defenses on both teams, I don't see either offense putting many points on the board. Oregon State vs San Jose State. Go with the Oregon State Beavers to cover the spread here. And here is why. The Oregon State Beavers are looking to build upon their offensive success from last season, as they were able to score 32.2 points per game. Junior quarterback DJ Uiagalelei transferred from the Clemson Tigers and did very well as he finished 229 of 369, 62.1 completion percentage for 2,521 yards, with 22 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He also ran 142 times for 545 yards, 3.8 yards per attempt, with 7 rushing touchdowns. With a considerable step down from the ACC competition, this Oregon State offense should do well. The San Jose Spartans played and did pretty well on the offensive side of the ball, as they scored 28 points on 396 total yards of offense, 198 passing, 198 rushing. Junior wide receiver Nick Nash had himself a game as he finished with 6 receptions for 89 yards, 14.8 yards per catch, with 3 touchdown grabs. They need to be better on the money downs as they were 5 of 13 on third down attempts and failed to convert on their singular fourth down try. The defense of the San Jose Spartans needs to step up more than they did last week. Granted, they were facing one of the most difficult defenses in USC, but they allowed 56 points on 501 total yards, 341 passing, 160 rushing. The defense needs to do a lot better than they allowed 9 of 13 on third down tries. They also struggled to defend the running game as they gave up 4.7 yards per rush. They need to show some massive improvement in their second game if they want to win. DJ Uiagalelei has demonstrated his prowess as a quarterback, surpassing the performance of many others. He has decided to transfer to a team facing a group of 5 defense that faced difficulties in their initial game of the season. In contrast, Oregon State is expected to perform significantly better given their strong defensive track record from the previous year and the return of many key players. The San Jose State team, on the other hand, conceded a substantial 56 points in their season opener, raising concerns about their defensive capabilities. The under has hit in 5 of the previous 7 Spartans home games, so go with under 54.5 points here as well. After seeing what the San Jose State offense was able to do to USC last week, Oregon State should be able to really minimize their offensive attack. The Spartans' offense depends on Nash out wide, and the Beavers have the defensive schemes to limit his production as a whole. LSU vs Florida State. I feel comfortable taking LSU -2 points, but I really like the Tigers around -130 on the money line. And here is why. The Seminoles enter 2023 with hopes of showcasing one of the most high-powered offenses in the nation. Second-team All-ACC quarterback Jordan Travis is one of 8 returning starters on an offense that finished 16th in the nation last season in scoring with 36.1 points per game and 10th in total offense with 484.2 yards per game. Travis is looking to build on an impressive junior season in which he threw for 3,214 yards and 24 touchdowns, and the dual-threat QB will have plenty of help at the skill positions, with Johnny Wilson back for another season at wide receiver and Michigan State transfer Keon Coleman set to flank him on the other side. In the backfield, Trey Benson will start at running back again after a solid 2022 campaign where he rushed for 990 yards and 9 touchdowns. Travis added another 417 rushing yards with 7 scores on the ground last season. The Seminoles return plenty of talent on the defensive side of the ball as well, in addition to some impactful transfers that include defensive lineman Darrell Jackson Jr. from Miami, Gilbert Edmond from South Carolina, and Braden Fisk from Western Michigan. They'll join Florida State's returning players, highlighted on the line by first-team All-ACC defensive end Jared Verse and ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year Patrick Payton. The Seminoles lost Jamie Robinson at safety, but have both starting linebackers back for 2023, in addition to All-ACC cornerback Fentrell Cypress II, who transferred in from Virginia. Florida State's defense gave up only 20.6 points per game last season, which ranked 20th in the nation. With new transfers joining so much returning talent in Tallahassee in 2023, it seems realistic to think the Seminoles could compete for their first berth in the CFB playoff since 2014. Florida State went 10-3 last season, which was the third year under head coach Mike Norvell. It's going to be hard to live up to the 2022 thriller between Florida State and LSU, but this rematch certainly has the makings of another exciting game. Both teams are experienced, loaded with studs on defense, and return a dynamic dual-threat quarterback. It wouldn't surprise me if this game came down to the wire once again. In games like this, I tend to side with the team that is going to win the battle up front in the trenches. LSU has all 5 starters back on the offensive line, whereas Florida State lost 2 starting O-linemen from last season's squad. With a couple of new starters mixed into the starting 5 up front for the Seminoles, you'd ideally like to have an easy game or 2 at the beginning of the year to get some reps and build continuity on the line. Instead, Florida State gets to face a lethal LSU defense that includes a pair of preseason All-Americans coming after the quarterback. It could only take 1 or 2 miscues from Florida State's line for Perkins or Smith to make a game-changing play. In what I expect to be a close game, I'm giving the slight edge to LSU this year because of that experience up front. Give me the over as a total pick, and here is why. These teams don't have many holes on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. With so many returning players for both teams, I think it is appropriate to look back at last season to see how these teams performed, especially at the end of the 2022 season in big games and bowl games. For LSU, the over hit in each of their last 4 games, and for Florida State it hit in each of their last 3. The offense was clicking for both teams by the end of the year, with FSU averaging 43 points per game in those final 3 contests against Oklahoma, Florida, and Louisiana Lafayette. The Tigers, meanwhile, averaged 39.3 points over their last 4 games against Purdue, Georgia, Texas A&M, and UAB. As good as these defenses are, I'm expecting the stars on the offensive side of the ball to step up and produce. Jaden Daniels only threw 3 interceptions last season, and Jordan Travis only threw 5. Avoiding turnovers is one of the keys to exceeding the over-under total, and I think these 2 savvy quarterbacks will be able to control the ball and the tempo in this game. Both quarterbacks simply have too many experienced weapons at their disposal.